Hey there, it's Kelly Donahue Piro, your favorite industry best friend. Well, I'm here to let you know that you've done something great for your agency by joining and listening in on our podcast or watching our YouTube channel. I just want to remind everybody that we're here to help. So if you need anything, drop a comment, go to our website, hang out with our chat, or just contact us. There's a problem in your agency, I got solutions, right? I like to think of it, you got a problem, I'll solve it. But let's get into the content today so that you can improve your awareness and knowledge of solutions that exist to the agency's core challenges.
That they need to be bought into it and feel like they're a part of it. They will own it. They will take ownership in it. And guess what? I've seen it happening live now.
I care about this person, and I think that's the hardest part. But the reality is that person is the right person. They care about you just as much and want those things that you want to happen, and they aren't fighting you on them. All right. Well, I'm very happy to be here with my good friend, Albert Doria, founder of Gulf Coast Insurance. And Albert is here today because he's one of our client of the quarters. And so, Albert, would you like to introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about Gulf Coast Insurance?
Thank you for having me on your little podcast today, Kelly.
Yeah.
My name's Albert Doria. I'm the owner of Gulf Coast Insurance in Naples, Florida. I started the agency from scratch. This started our 26th year, so 26 years ago.
You don't look that old. How did that happen?
Well, I started it young. I was lucky. I started at the age of 29. But I feel like I've aged a lot for the last 5 years. But anyway, so I started the agency from scratch. I came from a background where I was a captive in the captive world for about 8 years right out of college. I just always wanted to own my own insurance agency. And so I got tired of waiting around for the captive I was working for to give me an agency where I wanted one. So I went out and got started one on my own where I wanted to. That was in Naples, Florida. It was a blessing. We started at the right time. At that time, all the captives in Naples and Florida weren't doing any property insurance. So the first couple of years, I worked the heck out of homeowners insurance and got a lot of referrals from some captive agents, friends of mine. And after a couple of years, I said, you know what? I'm not going to build a good, solid agency by just writing homeowners. So the referral stopped when I let my buddies know that we weren't just writing homeowners anymore. And we went from there. It helped us, built up our cash flow and got us going. And I was a one-man shop for the first couple of years. And over 25 years, we grew to about $24 million in premium. I'm happy with our progress. I feel like I've had a good team over the years, and I enjoy what I do. My wife asks me all the time, when do you think you're going to retire? And I'm like, you know what? I'll probably never retire. I like what I'm doing. When I stop having fun is when I'm done. And I don't know. I hope that ain't for a long time still. I got 5 kids at home I got to feed.
Well, and then you started South Carolina, right? So you also branched up and kind of lived between 2 different states.
Yep. I 8 years ago reconnected with my friend from college and ended up moving to South Carolina. And so for the last 8 years, I've been here, primarily living in South Carolina, but still running the agency in Naples. And so I opened up an agency here as well. And I've got a staff here with an agency, and I got a staff down in Naples, and both of them work together. I got people from up here, servicing and selling insurance in Florida, and I got people in Florida selling insurance in South Carolina. So we all work together as a team, even though it's 2 agencies. It's been fun. It's been a good run. I love living in South Carolina. I've always loved it here ever since my college days. I always wanted to move back to South Carolina. And with technology and the way things are in our world and in the insurance industry, I'm able to live here and keep growing an agency in Naples.
That's amazing. And you got a little family that works with you too, right?
Yep. I've got in my office in South Carolina, I've got my stepdaughter who's been with me for 2 years now. She's really come along good. I'm really, as you can see, the smile on my face, I'm proud of her. So proud dad.
She's an impressive young lady. Yes.
Yep. Well, she's just like her mama. And then we got down in Florida, I've got a cousin that works for me doing commercial insurance. She travels around in an RV all over the country, but she works every day, does a good job for me. I got another cousin that works in the office down in the office in Naples. And then really everybody that works for me is like family. I got one of my leadership team members, Shelby, has been with me for 22 years now. And, she's like a daughter to me. I coached her when she was 10 years old in softball, and through high school, my brother and I coached her, and she's ended up working for me for 22 years now. And then Chad, who's my other leadership team member, He's only been with me for about 4 years, but I've known him since he was about 12 years old because my brother coached him in travel baseball. So we just have a good rapport in our office. We got a good team, and I truly do, treat my people like their family, and I care about them like their family.
Yeah, you're very, very kind and generous. And I think the coaching atmosphere is really important, right? Like there's good feedback loops to everybody. Everybody kind of understands what the mission is and where they're going. So, it was about a year ago, right around this time, I think, where, you and I connected. And some people are always maybe a little bit like, why, what causes people to kind of reach out? And so tell us a little bit about just kind of maybe why you were interested in partnering with us to kind of take the next steps.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know if I've even shared this with you, Kelly, but I kind of had my eye on Kelly, not in a weird way, but I had my eye on Kelly and Agents and Performance Partners for a few years. I'd always seen their stuff on social media. I'd follow you guys. I'd look at some of the things you're doing. I think I even bought some templates or some things from you over the years.
Yeah,
Uh,
we've done a lot with auto owners too. You guys are a big
right.
auto owners
Yeah.
organization.
Yep. And so I was, for about 2 or 3 years, I wanted to hire Kelly. I wanted to talk about consulting. And two things kept me from doing it for those years. Number one, I had an office manager with me for 22 years at the time, and she was always against it, didn't want to do it. And then part of me, if I'm being honest with myself, wasn't sure if I wanted to really hear the cold hard truth about what we got going on or not. Even though, everybody, we think we're good, we are good, and we actually are good, but
Okay.
we're not perfect. And so I wasn't sure if I really wanted to hear some things that I might hear from Kelly. So I didn't do it then, and the office manager didn't want me to do it. And then finally, around this time last year, I was having some issues with my leadership team, my office manager, and I just really wasn't happy with things. I didn't. I'm one of those guys that does a lot with how he feels in his gut. And for about a year, I didn't feel good in my gut about what we had going on leading our team down in Florida, and I'm not there every day, so that made it feel even worse because I'm not there in the office every day. So finally, I said, you know what? I met with Kelly. We talked, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to do this. I feel like I need to know. Let's pull everything back and let's look under the hood and see what we got going on. And I'm a firm believer in trying to improve what you're doing and getting better because you can. I think everybody can always get better. You can always improve. I don't care who you are. And
Yeah.
I always want to be the best. I'm a competitor. I want to be the best. I know I'm not the best, but my goal is to be the best. And so I'm always going to work towards that. And so that was really the main reason we brought Kelly on.
Yeah, that was, and I was to say, I had to sell the big boss, your wife.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Because my wife, my wife watches the purse strings, and she's like, "Okay, we got to talk about this. You're talking about getting into a contract for a year, and I can tell you some of the things that she's going to tell you. You just don't want to hear them from me."
And she was pretty spot on.
I will say this. What I will say is a lot of the things that Kelly told me, my wife had told me, but I told my wife the difference is between you and Kelly is yes, you can tell me the things Kelly can tell me, but then Kelly has the background and experience in our industry to help me figure out how to correct the
Fix
ship.
them. Yeah.
And so that's where Kelly came in. Yes, my wife did point out a lot of things, but my wife's not in this industry. And so she wasn't able to help me like, hey, how do I get where I want to be? Like, how are we going to get there? Kelly, that's where Kelly comes in and really helps.
Well, and I feel like spouses are coming at it from like they care about you so much and the family, and it's like it's different than okay, so if I do this or if I do this, how do I still get to that place that we want to be? Like they're seeing one side of the coin to some degree from a care, like a true caring place of their partner. And like she was right, and now we have the next steps, right? And
Right.
that's the most important thing. So I think one of the things that I'm always impressed by you guys is, we really started, I think, early on diving into like the numbers, right? And understanding what's happening. That's one of the first things, like when we talked originally, like, hey, how do you manage these two locations, right? Where you're not there every day. And tell me a little bit about how, and maybe for other people, how important is it for you and your leadership team to see those numbers and to be able to make good decisions based on that?
I tell you what, it's key. I've always been one like I've looked at the numbers over the years but I have to be honest, I never really felt completely confident that the numbers were accurate. We got a management system and every once in a while you run across, okay, these policies aren't even renewed in the system. These other policies are in here, but they're actually canceled. And So probably one of the key things for me is I'm a numbers guy, just like Kelly is. And I like to look at that when I'm making decisions. But also, my problem was I'm looking at the numbers, but I'm not confident for years on how accurate they really are. I knew they weren't far off, but
Yeah.
they weren't accurate. And so that's the first thing Kelly did, came in with her dashboard that she would call it, and cleaned up the numbers, and got it took a while. It took a little while to get things cleaned up, to where now we feel confident. And the other thing is that Kelly always does is, she believes in transparency with our team. Like, hey, you need to tell them where you're at, where you want to go. They they need to be bought into it and feel like they're a part of it. They will own it. They will take ownership in it. And guess what? I've seen it happening live now. We broke out in December with our dashboard. Every week, every team member gets an email with the dashboard. They look at the numbers. When I'm in Florida, I walk through the office and they're talking about the numbers. They're talking about, hey, we went up 20,000 from last week, or we dropped 10,000 from last week. And we did, we rounded out these many accounts, and, this is where we're at in the profit sharing. It's so neat to walk through the office in Naples and in South Carolina and hearing the team talking about the numbers. They're really invested. They care. And I think they feel like almost like they have some ownership in the whole thing. And I think
Yeah,
that's
your
the biggest.
your team is like so supportive, I think, of each other, and like they care about each other, they care about you, they care about the customers. Like they're just a really like optimistic, energetic, bright team. You're one of the only agents that I would say are really only one person departed through this process. And I don't think you guys ever really looked back at that point in time. It was just like, hey, that person's heart wasn't in it anymore. And, you guys were going into a different direction. But that also brought on the opportunity to have some new blood come on board too, right? A new commercial team member. I guess there were two people that departed, but new commercial team member, and then kind of reorganizing to have a sales team now where they're really kind of taking the sales off. So everybody has some roles and responsibilities that are a bit clearer. You know, One of the things I think is really hard to explain to a lot of people, but I feel like you guys did really, really well, is develop that leadership team that you talked about. And to me, leadership is so hard to explain. It's like explaining being married to the right person, or like being in a great job when you've only been in okay jobs, right? Like if you've never experienced it, you don't understand how important leadership can be. And I find a lot of agencies maybe push back on like, oh, we don't need to meet that much. People don't need one-on-ones. Like they just need to go do their job. But I feel like you guys really took that leadership concept after reading Traction and everything else and really applied it to get to where you are. So maybe if you could talk a little bit about that, because it's just a hard topic to explain, I feel.
I tell you what, that I'm not a big reader, and I actually sat down and read the book because I said, you know what? If I'm spending this money on a consultant, I need to take it serious and I need to do my part. I will say the other thing before I go into talking about that is my wife told me, you realize when you bring on a consultant, it's got to probably actually mean more work for you, right? And I said, yeah, I know. And guess what? My butt got back to work after Kelly coming on board, put me back to work. That book has been great. I've actually referenced back. I go back to it and look at it. One of the first things reading that book is like, you know what? I hate to keep going back onto this leadership, this operation manager I had that is no longer with us. But the first thing, and I had said it for years, I told my wife for about 2 years that I think it's my fault that she's not having success, because I think I put her, she really wasn't made to be an operation manager. She was a good producer. That's where she should have stayed. And then reading that book, I read about putting the right people in the right places and putting the wrong person in the wrong seat.
Hmm.
And right away, I'm like, oh my God, that's what I've been saying for 2 years, that I put the wrong person in the wrong seat. It's really not her fault. It's
Yeah.
my fault. I made a bad decision and I own that. And I think she saw it too. I think she felt that too. And part of the reason I think that she departed our agency on her own is because she felt that too. Like,
Yeah.
this is not my position. This is not really where I should be. That being said, that book has been key to helping us, learning, and we're still working on. We're still trying to refine it and do a better job of it. But I tell you what, these one-to-ones, at first I was like, oh my God, I don't have time for that. A
I
one-to-one
think I
every week.
asked you that. I'm like, how many do you think you can do?
Yeah, I don't think I said I don't have time for that. But guess what? We do them, and we're religiously doing them. And I think I had 1 week, 3 weeks ago where I missed, I couldn't do it for whatever reason, some issues going on at home. And I felt like, okay, this doesn't feel right. I need to do these. It makes me feel like I'm really in touch and in tune with what's going on in my agency. I think it also is good for my people because they feel like, okay, Albert's listening to me. He knows what's going on. And, we're all on the same page. They've been key, instrumental. We do those one-to-ones every week. We had our first quarterly leadership meeting a couple months ago, and we have our next one in middle of June. I'm looking forward to the next one. The first one I was so nervous about because there's so many things to get ready and to know what you got to do. And it's so neat, just as the process of makes you really sit and look at what you got and what you're doing and what's coming up. And as you can tell by the way I'm talking, like I'm excited about it. It's fun. I'm having fun again. And it's a lot of work, but it's fun. And I feel like we're on the right track and I feel like we're doing the right things. About 10 months ago, this time I had an opportunity to buy an agency and I backed out of it because I felt like we weren't ready. And I've been wanting to acquire agencies for the last few years. I've acquired a few, but last year, this probably the best one I could ever try to acquire right in my own town. I backed out because I wasn't ready. I didn't feel like our team was ready for it.
Yeah.
We just lost our operation manager. I felt like there was a lot of noise going on in our ears. That same opportunity the owner came back to me and ended up not selling last year, came back to me a couple months ago. Hopefully it looks like we're going to close on that acquisition on June 1st. And my wife asked me, what changed? Like 10 months ago, you said you weren't doing it. You weren't ready. I said, we're ready now. And
Yeah.
she's, how are you ready in 10 months? I'm like, we got Kelly and her team. They've been working on us. Our team, our staff has been getting cross-trained. Our leadership team's in place. I feel like each leadership member has their role and they're doing their part on the team. And I just feel like we're ready for it. I feel like it's a challenge that we're ready for. And I feel like we can take care of it and do a good job with it. And that's all got to do with what we've learned over the last year, what we've done, the changes we've implemented, the whole leadership team concept and the one-on-ones, the book traction with the different roles and what we're doing. I just feel like we're ready.
Well, and I can tell, like, by working with so many agencies and, I get the pleasure of doing this, year after year, meeting new people. And so I kind of know how the rhythm goes, but you have such a team that is so open-minded. You have a team that wants to take some change, wants to do the next new thing. Yeah, they might have some questions. Like when we launched renewal calls, they're like, wait a second, we're not going to like call everybody 1,500 times. I'm like, no. We're going to like review their policies. We're not going to reshop them first. We're going to call and get updates. But they're so open-minded to be able to say, I'll try it that way and I'll do that. And it's such a testament because so many agencies I go into, they just have people that are burned out, like kind of like what you were saying, or there's so much resistance where it's almost like as an owner, you feel like you have to negotiate with people that you pay with to get done what you feel is right. And, what would you tell another agency owner that's maybe kind of in that similar situation where, man, they want all the things you're talking about, but man, every time they go out to their team or their manager, there's just like, we can't do it because of this and this and this. What would you say to them to say, hey, because I think the first step is you always feel like, well, if they go, what happens? Like it feels like an impossible puzzle, but you've sort of come out the other side. So what advice would you have for them?
Well, what I will say, the other thing when I was bringing Kelly on was, besides my wife mentioned to me, like, Albert, you're going to have to go to work again. The other thing she mentioned to me is, you might have to make some tough decisions. And I said, yeah, I know. And she goes, are you prepared to do that? Because if Kelly tells you, I really think staff person A is hurting your team, they're
And
really
some of them are family for you
right.
too, right?
And she
Like,
said, are you going to be willing to do what? And I'm like, yep. As much as I don't like doing that because I care about all my team. But anyway, so I think the key thing is, you got to be willing to make the tough choices. And I will say that getting under the hood and looking at everything with Kelly and seeing where we're at and her, meeting with each individual employee one-on-one and giving me her assessment. Kelly, you didn't tell me anything I didn't already know, to be honest with you. It just came from from someone from the outside that you don't have a dog in the fight. You don't care what I do or don't do with the person. You're telling what you think is best for me. And if I don't want to do it, then that's my problem.
when I work for you, right? Like I
Right.
don't work for them. And I just think like, with somebody maybe who becomes resistant on a leadership team, it's like, it gets like 1 degree hotter, right? Like it's not like one day there's like a 180, like,
I will, yeah, I will say this. The one thing you pegged out exactly what we're talking about with this operation manager. And I knew what I needed to do even before I brought you on board. I guess because I cared about her for so much and because she'd been with me for so long, I needed to hear. And my wife had already told me, but I also know my wife is a little biased because she's protecting me. Having Kelly tell me the same thing my wife said just hit a little different because Kelly doesn't care what, my wife cares because she cares about me. Kelly doesn't, we just met. We'd only been on for a couple months at that time. If I do something or I don't do something, that's up to me. But that helped me realize, like, Albert, everything you're thinking, everything my wife is telling me is dead on. Cause now we got Kelly who's coming in from the outside and doesn't have a reason to say otherwise, is telling me the same thing. So I made that decision to move on from this person. And guess what? She was that person that Kelly was just talking about. Anything we wanted to bring on board, it was negative, didn't want nothing to do with it, wanted no change. And really, when she found out I brought Kelly on, that ruffled her feathers. She didn't like that because she didn't want Kelly coming on board. And guess what? It's been the best thing we've done in the last year is bringing Kelly on board. And the second best thing is getting rid of the operation manager that he was a hell of a producer. And I still care about the girl, but we just weren't good together anymore.
Yeah.
I think maybe she had some
each other. Like that's the
we outgrew each other. I still wanted to continue to grow this agency and move forward. And she was happy with just staying still and, doing her thing and being on her own. And for several years, because I did move away from Naples and was living in South Carolina, I probably let her get away with things for several years longer than I should have because I felt like I need her there because I'm not there.
Or you couldn't catch her and like you couldn't say like dead to rights, right?
Right.
Like this is what's going on. But I think what I want everybody like that's listening to hear what Albert says too is like, if you're paying somebody and you're not on the same page, sometimes you have to have some big heart to hearts of like, hey, you know what? This is my agency. We are going here and I need your help to get there. And if you don't want to, here you go. And I know we had a lot of conversations. It's like, well, how do we find somebody that's going to do this job? Like, there's not a lot of good people out there. And, every agency has a different pathway, by the way. You are very lucky to have some people already in place that could be elevated up. But I always tell people somehow it all works. I don't know how, but you release it out in the universe and the right people arrive and kind of go from there. But I know that really weighed heavily on you for a while because you did say, hey, I care about this person. And I think that's the hardest part. But the reality is if that person is the right person, they care about you just as much and want those things that you want to happen and they aren't fighting you on them.
That's true. And I will say this, I do feel like you said, I wasn't sure like what's going to happen. She'd been there with me for 22 years. She's been my main person for.
Is the whole team going to walk out because they know her and they
and
might follow her?
I realized soon after, really, she was holding us back a lot. My own fault for keeping her there, but she was holding us back a lot because I relied a lot on her. I entrusted her with being my operation manager. And if she didn't want to implement things, most of the time I didn't do them because in my mind, she's the one there in the trenches. I'm going to trust her and we're going to go with what she wants. Well, I realized that really that negativity that I felt from her, the other people around her felt from her. And after she was gone, honestly, everybody stepped up. Everybody stepped up. I thought they were going to miss her more than they did, and they didn't, and which is fine. They still cared about her, just like I do, but
yeah,
they also were tired of negativity around them. Everybody stepped up, elevated their game, and then, like Kelly said, I was fortunate that I got a lot of good people, but I had two people in particular that stepped up and are now make up my leadership team with me. And I just feel so blessed that I got them there with me. I feel like for the first time in all the years I've been in business that I truly got a true leadership team that is leading, not just has a title. They're actually leading and doing their part, leading our program and going towards our goal that we set for 10 years from now.
Yeah, it's so hard to explain, but when it works, it should be simple and easy. And like you said, like you want to go to those meetings. And I think that that's a big clue to agency owners out there. If you're like resisting or avoiding, like something's not right. And really it's your job to identify it and fix it, or because what you're not dealing with, you're accepting. Right. And if you're frustrated and going back to your spouse and being like, can you believe this person? Is this right or wrong? I would say you're probably talking to the wrong person. You probably need to be talking to that person And sometimes, to Albert's point, I think it goes on for so long that it is a little hard to remedy, right? Like you get into a pattern and and some of these wrong people in the agency make you think like you're crazy, right? Like they gaslight you pretty hard. Like there's no way, like that can't happen. And here's all the reasons why. So if anything you see resonates with you, that what Albert said, I just want agencies. You don't even have to call us, but just know that there is a different way, a better way where you can love coming to work every day. And if you don't, you might just need to do a little soul searching and figure out what that really means.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I've always enjoyed what I do. And for that last year before I brought Kelly on, wasn't enjoying it anymore. I wasn't having fun. We were still growing, which is kind of crazy that we really didn't have a good leadership in place, but we were still growing. But it was really truly because of the nature of the Florida market is why we were growing. And because I just got a good team of customer service people and producers. But after we got rid of that person and we got a new leadership team in place, I'm having fun again. Probably the
That
most.
happened
Yes.
within 2 weeks of everything going down. Like it
Right.
was not like, it was pretty quick that like clouds and then the sun came back out for you.
And I'm having fun, probably more fun than I've had. And I've been doing this for a long time. I get tired sometimes, but I'm having fun.
Well, so Albert's here to tell you guys you can have fun running your agency. And sometimes everybody just, you just need to think a little differently. But I always tell people, you deserve the best. And when you start putting up with something less than that, it can get really, really challenging.
And the one thing you said earlier kind of resonated with me. When you're paying somebody to do a job and you feel like you're having to almost like plead with them and ask them to do this or do that, that's not right.
That's what the
My wi-
paycheck's for.
and that's another thing. My wife would tell me, like, Albert, you're paying them to do a job. If you got to go there and still beg them or try to talk them into something, then like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And, you know, that's true. If you're doing that, that person's probably not the right person on your team.
Yeah. And I just want to end with this. That doesn't make you a bad person and it doesn't make them a bad person. It just, there's plenty of people that can't work for me that I'd have a beer with, right? Like
Right.
it doesn't make any, it just means that for right now, at this time, for what is necessary for their life and for your business, the puzzle pieces don't match. What happens is people get resentful and kind of hateful, and the rest of the team feels that whether we know it or not. And so the best thing you can do is just have the open conversations. And remember, conversations aren't necessarily terminations, right? Sometimes it's just, I need to let you know where I'm coming from. And then we have to decide. It feels like a breakup almost, right? Like
Right.
a really weird breakup.
Right. And I will say this on a positive note, there's another person on our team that really wasn't whatever. And we talked about that person and whether to keep them or not. And honestly, they've come back around and
180.
they're doing a phenomenal job for us.
And I think the numbers really help that person too.
They do. The numbers help that person a lot. That person sees these numbers and is like, yes, I see where we're going. She likes knowing where we're going and what we're doing.
Yeah, she wants to have her name at the top of the numbers.
That's right. That's right.
At least some of the dashboards, not all of them.
People don't realize they're competitors, and they are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, hey, I appreciate you letting me come in. I always tell people I feel very blessed that people let me come into their very valuable private businesses to help out. But you guys were super easy to work with, honestly. There's some that are a bigger challenge than you.
And I will say this. I appreciate you joining us. And, I'm sitting here. I'm grateful that we met and that you're on our team. And, we formed a friendship over this last year. And you said it right. This is my baby. I grew this baby from nothing and have raised it to where it's at now. And next to my kids and my wife, it's the most important thing to me. And so, to bring somebody in that I didn't know, I'm just pleased with what we've done and where we're going.
Yes. Well, now let's go get the other agency.
Yeah. We'll get it.
Well, thank you, Albert, for hopping on. I appreciate it. And, I know some of you out there might know Albert, but make sure to say hi. And I'm sure he's happy to talk to anybody if they have any questions about what his journey was. So thank you, Albert, for your time today.
Yep. And anybody that's out there that wants to talk to me a little bit more about Kelly and her team or just what we're doing, I'm happy to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It is so fun giving you guys tips and tricks every single, week out there. Remember, you can find us on social media for updates. You can like or comment on this podcast or video, and we're here for you. And check out our website. There's a ton of tools. We have over 1,000 blogs on our website. We have over 1,000 videos on YouTube. You can search and find answers to your top questions. But also, if you need a little bit more help, you want a best friend that's there cheerleading for you, giving you the guidance that you need, and being there on some of those tough days, let us know. We'd love to meet your agency and learn if we're a good fit. All right, signing off. Go sell insurance.